You will need to open Photoshop for this color corrections challenge. And also in Poland Pickup, there's a folder called Color Corrections and it has a couple of photos in it. The first one you're going to need is the one called Auto Correction, and it is the cat. It looks like this. And this is my sister's cat. And when I took the photo, it was a little bit dark. And so this very first one, I have to do some corrections, some adjustments to make this look better. Obviously, I did go back and take better photos myself, but we can do some of this with color correction in Photoshop. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to go ahead and I want to duplicate my background layer. And this is so that I can make adjustments on this layer without making any changes on the background layer. So if I make a mistake, the background layer is still there. The original is still there. Now, the ones that we're going to look at today are our auto correction tools. And you will find these under the image menu along with some other things. Under the image menu, you'll find the mode, which gives you your different color modes. Whenever we do web stuff, it's for RGB color, red, green, blue. If we do something that is meant for print, we'll choose CMYK color. And also, just so you know, sometimes you may accidentally open up a new file and have it in grayscale. That's probably where you made the change here. Now, if you look at adjustments, you're going to see a long list of adjustments here. These adjustments also show up over here in your layers panel. If you click down here at the bottom, notice that there's this two-sided circle, and they are all here as well. This allows us to put an adjustment layer on top, and again, this is so that we are doing non-destructive editing. What we're going to do right now is look at these three options: auto tone, auto contrast, and auto color. And before I go and do them, I do want to point out a couple of things. Auto contrast is going to be the first one that we do. I'm going to go ahead and apply that right now. Auto contrast does not change the colors in the image. It simply boosts the overall contrast, making it a good choice for images that don't suffer from any sort of color problems, but just need a little bit more pop. So this particular image could have been that because it was shot in the dark without a flash. It maybe just needed a little bit more contrast. And so you see that with that applied, look at the difference. If I hide that layer, it makes a huge difference in that photo. I'm going to go ahead and go to my history panel, and I'm going to undo the auto contrast, and I want to go to the auto tone next. Now, when I choose the auto tone, the results are similar in what you see from your naked eye looking at the screen. But what this does, the auto tone, it actually changes the colors in the image at the same time. So if your image has an unwanted color cast, maybe it has some blue tones to it or something, auto tone may be able to correct it. Unfortunately, if your image did not originally have a color cast, then auto tone may end up putting one in there. Okay, so again, if I look at these, notice the difference between them. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go back and undo that one, and then we're going to look at auto color next. Image, auto color. Now, auto color is similar to auto tone. It also darkens the darkest pixels to black and lightens the lightest pixels to white on a channel by channel basis. And when we talk about channels, we're looking at these here. Notice that you have 4 channels, actually 3. You have red, green, and blue. Now, these all come to you in grayscale, okay? But when you put them all together, basically what it's doing is it's showing you the darker the color, the less amount of red that's going, the whiter the color, the more amount. Same thing here. So it's giving you different color combinations. The darker has more green, the lighter has, or sorry, the darker has less green, the lighter has more green. And same thing here with the blue. So even though these are all grayscale, you can see the differences. And then when you combine all of these colors together with RGB, red, green, blue, then you have this color combination. Okay, so auto color goes a step further than the auto tone. Rather than simply redistributing all the other tonal values in between, it tries to correct any unwanted color cast by neutralizing the midtones in this image. This usually, but not always, makes auto color the best choice for both boosting contrast and correcting color problems at the same time. Okay, so this one had auto color. They're all, with this particular image, they're all fairly similar in the results. But when you look at different images, you might have different results. Sometimes, not always, it's in your benefit to do more than one. So you notice I just did auto tone on there. And if you look and go back in the history, it does change the quality ever so slightly. And then the last one was the contrast, and with all three of them applied, I don't see any difference by adding the color contrast. So I went in order of what I did: auto color, auto tone, auto contrast. And again, you, depending on what your photo is, you may need to decide to use one of them, or you may do all three, but in a different order. You have to kind of play with it and see what works best. There is no magic one or two steps that you can do that works for every single photograph. Okay, so when we save this, we need to go to File, Save As. It already has the name of the assignment right here, which is auto correction. You're going to need to go to your folder in schools and find your Photoshop folder. And once you have found your Photoshop folder in your schools, then you are going to change the file name so that it has your period, underscore, your last name, underscore, and then keep auto correction so you know what it is. The first format that you're doing should be Photoshop, because remember, the Photoshop one is the one that you can come back and edit later if you need to. So I'm going to hit save and click OK, and then I'll go back and I'll save it as my JPEG so that it is, oh whoops, it's currently being saved in the background. I guess I went too fast. Let's try that again. There we go. And now I have to change the format to a JPEG. I'm going to save it in the same place. Remember, that just gives us two of the same one, just two different file types. And the JPEG is the one that will ultimately get either uploaded to your Google site, or in this case, for this color correction challenge, it'll get combined into another PDF for you to upload.